Today we're going to be doing a crochet tutorial on how to make one of these front post double crochet hats. In order to make this, you're going to need your yarn, your hook. Your hook size will depend on your yarn size. I'm using a thicker yarn, so I'm going to be using a 6mm hook, but if you are using the standard size 4 yarn, a 5mm hook is what I personally recommend. In addition, you will need scissors and you will need a yarn needle. How the hat looks on the outside is like this. It is a nice front post stitch. It almost looks like a knitted hat. And depending on what color of hat you have, you might end up with these cool variegated spots here. You can't really predict how it's going to turn out though. I mean, you might be able to if you're really good, but personally I can't. So you can see how wild it was and how mixed mashed, and then it became stripes. But this is how the front post side looks, and then if you turn it inside out, this is how the back post side looks. And you have different textures for each. Honestly, they're almost like scales. This is the seam line for the back post side, and if we turn it inside out, this is the seam line for the front post side here. You can't really see it that well on the front post side, which I enjoy too. But that is the hat we will be making today. So to start off, you're going to want to make a slip knot with a decent sized tail. You'll be working it in as we go. Unless you want to sew it in, then you can leave a much longer tail. But you're going to make your slip knot and put it on your hook. So from here, you're going to want to chain however long your head, or however round your head is. And how tight your hat is going to be is based off of how much your chain is stretched when it fits your head. So for example, if you stretch your chain way out and it barely touches and goes around your head, that's going to be a really tight hat. Whereas if your chain doesn't have to stretch at all to fit over your head, that will be a pretty loose hat. Personally, I prefer mine to be tight, so I like to make it about medium stretch. So pretty much I make it so when it's stretched all the way out, it goes around my head, and then I add like 5 more stitches just to make it a little looser. So pretty much you're just going to be chain stitching and chain stitch until you have a chain that goes all the way around your head wherever you want that to be. And then we will return here. So this is what I meant. This is a 48 stitch chain, and this is what I meant when I said when you stretch it, it barely fits around your head. So I'm doing mine at the base of my skull all the way up here because this is where I usually want my hat to sit. Not stretched, this is where it goes. But if I stretch it, then it fits barely around my head. So I'm just going to add 5 more stitches. So instead of 48, we'll have 49, 50, 51, 52, and 53 stitches. So now, when I stretch it around my head, first of all, it fits a little bit with much stretching. But when I stretch it out, this is how big it can be if it's totally stretched out. But this is how it's going to be for me. So that is what I meant when I said stretching. However tight your chain is, you're going to want to add like 1 or 2 stitches to account for the double crochets. But however tight your chain is, pretty much that's how tight it's going to be when it's finished around your head. All right, now that you have your chain finished, you're going to want to actually turn your chain into a ring. So hold one end, hold the other end, and make sure your chain is not twisted. If you have to, come up to your hook, take your thumb and your finger, and just pull through to make sure that it doesn't twist, because you do not want it to be twisted. Now you're going to take it and bring it together as a ring, like this. And you're going to want to go into your bottom one, not the top part of your chain, the bottom part. And then you are going to slip stitch. And this makes sure that there is no twist whatsoever. Now I'm going to work in my tail, so I'm going to actually bring my tail back up and over here. So it's hanging out here. I'm going to bring it back up and over. And then you're going to chain 3. So 1, 2, 3. And that's going to count as a double crochet. And then we're going to double crochet across. So go into each chain and bring your tail with you so you can work it in, and just double crochet all the way around the chain that you have. So that is a yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through first 2 loops, pull through last 2 loops, and then yarn over, insert, pull through, yarn over first 2, yarn over last 2. And you're going to do that all the way around until you come back to this chain. Once you are here to this point, it will look something like this. You want to make sure it is not twisted anywhere. And now you are going to take the top chain, or the third chain of your 3 stitch, or your 3 chain. Good Lord, I can't talk. And you are going to insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through for a slip stitch. If you would like, at this point, you can take this band and put it over your head and see how tight it is on you. That's how tight the rest of your hat's going to be, just in case you had any questions about using your chain. Now, next up for your next row is where we're going to begin the front post double crochet. So we're going to chain 3, and this will count as your first stitch. Now we're going to yarn over, and we're going to be going through the post here, and this is the front post. And that's pretty much like the main stitch here. I'm trying to move my light so it looks a little better. So you're going to yarn over, and you're going to see the places between each stitches. You're going to insert your hook from the front there, and then come back out from behind so you have your stitch on your hook like this. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the last 2 loops. And you're just going to repeat that around. So yarn over, put your stitch on your hook just like it's a loop. So you're going to go from the front and out the back. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. One more time, yarn over, insert from the front, come out from the back so you have your stitch on your hook, yarn over, pull through, and continue with your regular double crochet. And we are going to do that all the way around here, and then I will come back again to show you how to start your next lane. Once again, we are sitting here, and this is how it's looking thus far. So we will once more go into the 3rd chain of our chain 3, and we're just going to slip stitch and chain 3 more. Now from this point onward, you're going to be repeating row 2 until your hat is as long as it needs to be for your head. So I will be coming back whenever I have completed that part, and I will tell you how many rows it took me and how long the hat is and everything else. But it ultimately depends on how long you want it, if you want it to be extra baggy or if you want it to be a tight-fitting hat. But you're just going to continue doing the front post double crochet all the way around until it is as long as it needs to be for you. This is what my hat looks like right now. This is 21 rows right here of the front post double crochet, and this is what it looks like inside out. Now, to figure out if your hat is big enough for your head, What you're going to want to do is pull off your crochet hook, leaving a really large loop so your work doesn't come undone. And then you're just going to try your hat on. Now, depending on how baggy you want it, you can make it as long as you want. But I want mine, like I said, to be nice and tight. So I'm just going to do this number. And as long as your hat, when like scrunched up together, covers your head, then it's big enough and you can begin the next step. Again, you can make it as baggy as you want here though. So once you have got your hat however long you want it, what you're going to want to do is cut off a decent sized tail. I always prefer longer is better, but really it's whatever you want. And then you're going to fasten off. Now you're going to take your yarn needle. I'm using this bigger one because I'm using a bigger yarn. And you're going to go ahead and thread up your yarn needle. And now we're going to go through and sew around the top of the hat here to pull it closed. So what I'm going to do, and you can either do like the whip stitch where you just whip around, but I'm going to do this one right here. So I'm going to weave in and out between each stitch. So like this. And this is just my preferred method. You can use whatever method is best for you, but you're going to slowly tighten it as you go. As you can tell, it is already starting to form that hat shape here on the top. Once more, we're just going to continue with sewing around the edge. So more than likely when you finish tightening, you're going to have like this little bitty hole here at the top. You have a couple options here. You can just leave it like that if you want. I'm going to go ahead and tie a knot here, but I am going to actually close the hole. I'm just tying this knot here for security purposes, basically to secure this hole so it doesn't get any bigger while I work on closing it. There we go. Now from here you can either close it and sew it together like that, but I'm actually just going to continue with what I was doing, and I'm just going to go through the edges a little bit. Here we go. I'm going to go through the edges and just bring them together more, basically. As you can see, I've completely closed the hole just by going around the rim a few times. And now I'm just going to once more tie off a knot. And now all that's left is to hide your tail. So to hide your tail, what I like to do is just go in, pick a stitch, and start weaving through it. So I'm just sticking with the same stitch here, and I'm just kind of weaving my thread into the front post double crochet stitch, like that. And then I'm going to go in at the base here and go through a couple of stitches like near that one at the base, like that. And then I like to pull it really, really taut when I snip my end. That way, when you start fiddling with it, the end retracts fully and you won't see it anymore. But this has been a tutorial on how to make a front post double crochet hat. Overall, I think this one turned out really nice. It's really tight. It's really thick too. This one is like extremely thick, so it'll be really good for winter. And then like each side is different textured, so overall I really love it. I hope you all enjoyed this tutorial. Leave a comment down below, subscribe, and like. Thank you.